Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. We are Knock of the Perch, a Manchester United podcast. I'm Dheeraj with my co host Aruj, bringing you the fresh new episode of our podcast.
In this episode, we discuss the Community Shield game against Manchester City. We break down the match and discuss how each of our players performed. We discuss what does it mean for the upcoming season. We talk about certain transfer rumors, potential ins, some new contracts, and who could we see going out of the team. Yes, so let's begin.
Yeah. So, sad start to the Community Shield. I believe we were the better team. But Manchester City ended up lifting up the Community Shield with a 7-6 penalty shootout win against United.
Do you mean the Mickey Mouse Cup?
The Mickey Mouse.
Now that we have lost it.
The last preseason game.
I mean, this story would have been entirely different had we won it.
Definitely.
We would never talk about it as a Mickey Mouse Cup. Or, in fact, jokes aside, we all were very excited about the game. I felt a little pain once we lost the game. So it did mean something. And I think it hurt more because the performance was there. The
Definitely.
performance was there.
So till now, all the managers who have faced City, you've noticed all of them have taken the counter-attack approach. Was the first or second time I've seen a manager taking the action towards City, taking the first step, taking possession, maintaining possession and creating more chances than City, creating the better chances than City. That was something which was a big positive for me from the game. I saw some tactics which Madrid has had employed in the game against City. I saw these tactics repeated again in the FA Cup final and the repeat of same tactics. So a brilliant tactical face-off between Pep and Ten Hag, which we could have led if it weren't for some not so clinical attacking. But other than that, I think we created enough chances to win the game in normal time. What do you think?
I agree. And to the point you mentioned about, teams like Real Madrid taking a certain approach with City, I think that goes to speak a lot about how City have been performing over the years. So there is definitely, even the best clubs have a certain respect that they come in with when they're playing a game against City. So if I'm not wrong, we had 46% possession against City overall in the 90 minutes, which is a big deal. I mean, I know in the past, in the Ole Vibes era, we have probably defeated Guardiola's City team multiple times, but the possession was maybe close to 30%. So there was definite intent, and there was definitely a tactical plan to solve for how City could unlock us. So it was not genuine pressing approach to its fullest. There was a lot of focus on maintaining the defensive shape. But as and when you get an opportunity, you press, and obviously the counter-attacking football was at the core of it. Once you have a good defensive setup, you nick the ball off, and which is where I think Menu and Casemiro did a great job. Casemiro surprisingly was decent defensively as well. So nicking the ball off in defense, either the defenders, high praises for Ivan's, also 37 years old, in his second stint, which we believed, it's probably somebody who's just there to mentor the young kids and all of that. But I think he has taken whatever opportunity has come his way. And he was good over the 90 minutes as well.
So yeah, two key things which I noticed was initially the press from Rashford and Ahmad, which forced City to go long. Usually City rely on all the midfielders to create their chances. This time they usually went long and relied on their wingers, Doku, Bob, and Savinho, to create a lot of one-on-one situations. Especially Bob, he had a lot of dribbles, a lot of crosses. We were playing a makeshift left back in Lisandro, and he ended up creating about 3 chances, out of which one was the assist to Bernardo Silva, ended up in goal. But yeah, it was good to see us taking the game to City. And when we didn't have the ball, we had a good shape 4-2-4-6, which made City go through the wings rather than the middle of the park, which they prefer to do. A key point about United being in transition was we never relied only on counter attacks. We brought up Onana in front with our center backs. That became a three at the back, and this created some overloads in their half, which was majority of our chances. What do you have to say about the chances which were created by Bruno from the middle of the park towards Garnacho and Rashford?
Yeah, so maybe let's do a breakdown in terms of how the entire situation panned out. First 20-25 minutes, if I remember correctly, I think it was all City. United were struggling to get the ball in City's half. City was completely overloading us on attack. And I mean, he's a City chap, but Oscar Bob looks like a player and a half. So I think he is going to be something who will be involved for City. Okay, coming back to United, first 20-25 minutes, we struggled to get a lot of ball. It seemed like it will be one of those games where, again, we'll have to rely on a moment of magic and ensure that we convert that. But I think post 25 minutes, we started to grow into the game. It was very evidently a overload on right is what we were seeing, and which is where the chances were coming on, right? As you mentioned, the 4-4 in possession and in attack with Casemiro and Menu holding the midfield, Bruno and Mount pretty much playing like front two and supported by Rashford and Ahmad on either wings. But inevitably what we were doing is we were getting the ball on the right. It was Dalot, Bruno, Casemiro or Menu, one of them, sort of playing in a bit of a triangles, getting the ball forward, giving it to Ahmad, and come on, man. Ahmad is really looking really, really sharp. He feels like a complete player now. I mean, all of us had our doubts. Last year, we know he had a good season with Sunderland, but last season he was making a bit of a transition. A lot of people were criticizing Ten Hag for not starting him, benching him for 18 games straight and all of that, but I think it has had its impact. He has become a mature player, a complete player now. And the great thing was he was not afraid to take on City defenders. He was, the moment the ball came to him, it felt like something could happen. So Ahmad was definitely was a bright spark for United. In fact, that chance which I think a lot of people are criticizing him for not taking the shot. That was my first opinion as well, where he almost squared it off for Mount. But had there been a Rasmus Højlund instead of a Mount, probably they would have made that run because it would have come a little more naturally to them. You could argue that the ball from Ahmad was slightly heavy. It wasn't in, Mount's pass. But if not for Mount, a proper striker, that could have been a goal.
No, we've been trying for a 1-2 entry into the box like that. It was a good sight to see by Casemiro and Ahmad doing that 1-2, and I felt it was a perfect chance. You're bang on when you say that if a Højlund or a Zirkzee was there, we would have led 1-0. Ahmad was not only creating chances, he was running back. He was a pain in the back for both the winger as well as the left back for them.
Exactly. And I think moments later, we created another chance. Again, Casemiro was involved in the build-up. I was very happy with Casemiro's forward play. He was making those small intricate passes, 1-2s with the other midfielders and laid on Rashford, who in his best moment could have curled it in. I understand Rashford is still a little low on confidence is what I felt after looking at the match. But great thing is that he is getting in those places. So if he can get his groove back, he can get his confidence back. It probably could be a scenario where he will be scoring a lot. I'm very happy with the fact that we were creating a lot. I think a good segue into the second half where again Rashford missed a big chance. Again, the pass was created, the entire play was created from the right. Rashford was pretty much the lone man coming in from the left and he hit the post, which again, in all fairness, was an easy chance that should have been a goal. So I think by the time we were at this stage, I think in the second half as well, it was a bit of a mixed bag. City were also attacking. Players were starting to tire out. It was their first game. So both ways, some sort of chances were being created, but United definitely had the better of the chances. And then bang, Garnacho's goal. What did you make of it?
Oh yeah, I mean, Pep had to change something in the second half. He was playing with two defenders and most of his right backs turned into wingers. That's why they were getting found out whenever Ahmad and Rashford ran into those channels. And Bruno, we know, is an expert. He plays a very high risk, high return game. He saw the runs, he saw the game. I felt Bruno, even without having a single minute of preseason, was among the best players of the day.
Agree. And at the moment that we scored in maybe the 82nd minute, I felt as if, this is the game done for us. With Martinez now at centre back, playing with Evans, I felt that, okay, we will have that level of control to be able to see this out. But Oscar Bob, man, that Rico Lewis and Oscar Bob on the right were really good for Manchester City. I mean, I know Kyle Walker is aging and all. I think they have a great backup in Rico Lewis already for replacing him. But Rico Lewis and Oscar Bob did really well. And usually Martinez isn't found out in one-on-one situations, but Oscar Bob did a trick over him and played a good ball in, found Bernardo's header to make it 1-1.
Yeah, I think both Licha couldn't take on Bob, and we had Pellistri at right back. Pellistri was playing at right back, covering up Bernardo Silva. Even though Bernardo Silva is not the best at heading, it was Pellistri who we had at right back when the goal happened. So it was a bit unlucky. A bit more of game management, which we've been begging for quite some years, would have gone a long way. But I still feel it was a positive game to take. Losing on penalties is never easy. But in the game, I think we saw enough signs to be very positive about this.
Yeah. But I think the fact that you spoke about Pellistri at right back, let's maybe talk a little bit about the players who played. There were some surprising ones who didn't. I am talking about Zirkzee and Amas. So let's talk about that. What did you make of that? Why do you think Ten Hag took that approach? So maybe let's start with the starting 11. What did you make of the starting 11?
I feel Ten Hag wanted to bring a playing 11 who would be as close to a starting 11 on the 16th start of our Premier League campaign as possible. Zirkzee could have been just a bit of lack of match fitness, lack of patterns between. He's just entered the fray. I don't think he has a lot of patterns built up with the midfield, with the attackers. He will be eased into the squad, but I still feel we had the better starting 11 than City did. I still feel City had more first team players missing than we did. Our playing 11 is a bit more close to what we can see in the next week against Fulham.
Yeah, I mean, Martinez at left back still felt like, Ten Hag is trying to see if I can play Martinez at left back in the long run. So it felt like, and Eric Ten Hag is using this Community Shield game also to figure out, okay, what is it that I can try, what is it that I cannot try? Because I don't see come the game against Fulham, Martinez being at left back. So I was a little surprised there. I felt maybe, okay, it could have been Maguire, Martinez and maybe Amas on left. Or at least Amas could have had a squad role given the fact that Pellistri had to come in at right back. Because it could easily have been Dallo continuing at right back even after some of the substitutes were made and giving an opportunity to Amas on the left wing instead of bringing Pellistri on, unless he wanted to give Pellistri some minutes at some position.
That being said, I feel Martinez didn't look very much out of position, even though it was an unnatural position. He was still his 5'3" still. He was still making those tackles, making those runs. He created a great chance for Bruno as well, which Bruno scored. It just tended to be a bit offside.
Oh, yeah. That was a brilliant chance taken by Bruno as well. I think what you see with Martinez whenever he is on the field is him marshalling the team around, him sort of trying to discuss what those intricate patterns from building up from defense could be. I saw a clip where Collier had just come on and Martinez had the ball and Collier was dropping deep and taking another player with him and Martinez was directing him that you need to play through the line. You need to take a run so that I can play a ball through the line for you. He ended up passing it to somebody else, but he was dictating pretty much the play. And that's what happens when he is at centre back. So I think come the game against Fulham, we will see him at centre back.
Yeah, this is something good that we are collecting personalities in our team which command that respect, which command that hold over the game. We are bringing another centre back now who Eric Ten Hag has played before. But yeah, let's get back on the players who played, the game. What do you make of the showing by our centre back combination, Maguire and Evans?
It was decent. I mean, nothing outstanding from them, but they held their shape, they held their positions, no major mistakes from them. So that was always a positive. How it panned out in terms of building from the back, I think there were certain limitations. And also the speed of the defenders, both Maguire and Evans are on the slower side. So you cannot be even slightly higher up because there's a issue with transition that suddenly one of the wingers from City could get the ball, they would run through the wings and Haaland could, potentially be in front of an open goal. So I think with all of those limitations, Ten Hag set up the team in such a way that, okay, we hold position. Also, this was City. So it made sense to hold that position. But all in all, I will, apart from Evans' poor penalty kick, I think both of them were very decent. I would give them an average rating. Nothing outstanding, but no major mistakes as well.
Agreed, agreed. I felt the weakest link in our defense on the day was Dalo. In fact, Dalo was completely dominated by Doku. He couldn't have his attacking game on display this time. It wasn't Dalo's best outing. Could be chalked off to him not having a preseason. But yeah, I felt Dalo was the weakest link in our United. But I feel with minutes, he has the right back on his own. I feel with Mazraoui coming in, we'll be discussing the incomings later. But yeah, with Mazraoui coming in, there will be some competition on the right back positions, which will only bring the best out of Dalo as well.
Yeah, no, I was just looking at the stats as well. I think he attempted some 5 tackles, and most of them would have been with Doku trying to make runs in, and he was only able to intercept once. So I think that signifies how much of a trouble he had against Doku. But yeah, I think it had got a lot to do with minutes under the belt. And let's be honest, I mean, Dallo is more of a rounded defender, but he is neither great defensively nor he is superb attackingly. He is like an average defender. So with that competition from Mazraoui coming in will only help, because there was always that perception that Van Bissaka is not a Ten Hag type of a player. Truth be told, I really like Aaron Van Bissaka. I mean, he is born in a wrong era for a defender like him. Had he been born maybe 15, 20 years back, he would have been counted as one of the best fullbacks and all of that. His defensive one-on-one skills are, I think, top-notch. So I will miss Aaron Van Bissaka. He is most likely going to West Ham United. But coming back to Dallo and Mazraoui, I think that is going to be our right back. Those are going to be our right back options, and I feel some competition in terms of how Ten Hag wants to play at right back should elevate the level of play there.
Okay, so that was the defense of the Community Shield match. What did you make of our midfielder?
Midfield, actually, I was not expecting too much from Casemiro, to be very honest. Menu was coming on the back of his 3.5 weeks vacation. And I always thought that, he will be involved from some game time perspective. But there could have been a time when he could have been leggy. But to my surprise, both Casemiro and Menu were decent. Casemiro, I off late have had my challenges with him in how he has been playing in defense. But I think the fact that he had sort of a low block, so to say, in behind him, and United were not going for that crazy high press and low block kind of a transition. We were still maintaining our shape. I think that helped Casemiro, because he suddenly didn't have to make those lung busting runs, which he's not capable of anymore. And in his position with the tackling, he is still one of the best. Right. So it's the speed which he has lost. So I think all of that culminated in him having a decent game defensively. I was just looking at, maybe he had a couple of times that he lost the ball, and I distinctly remember one which could have been dangerous. But all in all, it was a solid defensive performance. But what I was really surprised by and happy about was how involved he was in the attack, in the forward play. And we briefly talked about in the previous section how him, Mount at times, Bruno, Ahmad were sort of there around the City's box when we were doing these quick little 1-2s. So all in all, very happy with Casemiro. What did you make of Menu?
Yeah, I mean, bang on Casemiro. He picked up from where he left off in the last season. You couldn't have said that he hasn't had a minute of preseason. Very calm, composed in possession, ticked all the right boxes, made the ball tick. I think he brought in everyone in play, all of the white players. One complaint I had about the general midfield was the non-participation or non-involvement of Mount. I found Mount was quite underwhelming. He didn't create many great chances to speak of. He didn't make himself very much available for receiving the ball. I felt most of our balls from Menu and Casemiro were going to the high areas, and Mount didn't get too much involved in the general build-up play. So other than that, I felt we responded to all of Pep's tactics very well with our very compact midfield. I remember Martinez also entered the midfield fray from his fullback positions a couple of times. So yeah, we had the numbers in midfield. We got our tactics right. If one small improvement in Mount's position we could make, that would be brilliant.
I agree. I think the setup for this particular match was probably not to Mount's comfort. In the beginning, he was just way too uninvolved in the game, and I was just looking at the number of touches. So he had 23 touches, which was probably the lowest. Yes, it was the lowest of the starting 11. So that signifies the involvement. I think his first touch came on, he had just one touch in the first 15-20 minutes. Whereas Bruno, playing a similar role, was still getting back, trying to make things happen. So he still had a few more touches than Mount, even in that difficult period when City were dominating us. And going forward, I don't think he is best set up in a, false front two or whatever we might want to call it in the 4-4 when we had the ball. And we were set up in such a way that the balls will go to wings. However, I think that link-up play is where Mount would have been useful, but I think it was the other players who stepped up and Mount was a little missing. But I'll not read too much into this. I still feel if when we get back to maybe a setup with a proper striker or even a one false nine and Mount playing behind them, I think he might be a better player, and something like that may be required against teams which will defend deep. And I don't know what is going to be Fulham's style of play, but that is our next game. And if there, I feel we will probably see Bruno ahead of Mount if we continue with them, and which is where Mount might do better. But yeah, this game slightly disappointing.
Yeah, the test of all the players will come when we play the certain lesser sides who play in a low block. We've always been not good at, but we have always been decent at defending deep and counter-attacking, that sort of play in high transition football. But when we are playing teams with a low block is when his chance creation will come into play. You're right. Don't think we should be reading too much into it. Bruno obviously is back at his best. Wouldn't know that this was his first game after a grueling long season. He was creating chances left, right, and center. Had a good goal, chalked off. We already discussed that. But yeah, that was what we saw from Bruno. That was what we expect from Bruno and what we saw from Bruno.
Exactly. Any of the substitutes you want to talk about? Collier had a solid outing. I felt I felt he was composed when he came on for the few minutes that he was on. He didn't really stand out in terms of performance, but I felt he is beginning to gain Erik Ten Hag's trust to get more and more minutes, which is always a positive sign. all in all, a decent cameo from him, I felt.
Yep, yep. Garnacho was great. He created a chance for Rashford, which could have been a goal. I feel came on to Rashford's shin rather than his foot. That's why it just bobbled off right before the goal. Scored a great goal himself, a very good individual goal. Brilliant ball taken by his first touch, cut in to his left, and then scored. Really good goal scored. I felt when he comes on, he is a bit more direct than Rashford. Rashford still tries to do a lot of trickery and brings a lot of skills. I feel Garnacho is a bit more direct. What do you think?
I think Garnacho, the fact that he finished with his left foot, I think he's added another dimension to his game. I did not expect Garnacho to do that. I always felt that, his shots from the left foot would probably be weaker. They would probably be off target and stuff like that. But I think this one, it felt as if he had the confidence to do it. He cut in from the right. He positioned himself in such a way. And I didn't expect him to suddenly take a shot with his left, which he did, and it was a great goal. Ten Hag will have a selection dilemma next week for Fulham. I think in the 30 odd minutes that Garnacho was on the field, he showed that he needs to be one of the starters. We'll see, and probably we'll discuss a little more on that in the next part. Anything else on attack? We covered the Rashford, Bruno, Mount, Garnacho, Ahmad.
No, I think that's pretty much it. I think this is a good segue onto what are the transfer rumors for the week, the incomings and outgoings. Any players that stand out for you?
Oh yeah, I mean now we have had a full defensive overhaul, right? With De Ligt and Mazarawi almost all but confirmed. They were in Manchester, and I think the medicals are through. We should see an announcement soon, or maybe by the time this pod is out, they have already been announced. But now is when Eric Ten Hag will have limited excuses about the style of play, etc. Because pretty much the defense is entirely of his picking. I think the first 11 will be Onana, which is his choosing. Dallo / Mazarawi, he has been okay with Dallo, so I will again call that position something that Ten Hag is okay with. Defense will be De Ligt, Martinez at least to begin with, and then Euro coming in, which again he has sanctioned that signing, I would presume. And on the left, Luke Shaw, when he is fit, is again something that he has been okay with. Or Mazarawi and Dallo could play either of the fullback positions. So now the defense is completely Ten Hag's, based on some of these transfer news that we are hearing. What do you make of De Ligt and Mazarawi?
Yeah, brilliant players. Have played in Ten Hag's system. Have excelled at Ajax. In fact, De Ligt's best time as a player came when he was playing at Ajax. People say that he has been, he's been a bit injury prone, but a stat which I noticed was Licha, Maguire, and Evans, they have been more injury prone than De Ligt. De Ligt has made himself available for most of the games. So, and when he plays, he is also sort of that commanding figure in the defense who marshals everyone along with him. He was the captain of Ajax team, which went to the semi-finals at 19 years of age, which is what made him a world-class prospect at that point of time. United were in for the bidding at that point of time. We didn't have him then. We have him at a good age of 24. I feel
He just turned 25.
Yeah, he just turned 25. Okay. I feel we have a great defense to start with. I feel the defense and the attack positions are now well occupied. Other than the outgoings, I don't see any more incomings in these two areas.
No, I think defensively, there are still a few rumors that are doing the rounds, right? I mean, initially Hermoso was being talked about as a free transfer, but I think the demand that the player has is probably something that United is not willing to accommodate, and he might be going to a Saudi club. Then we heard that maybe we are back for Braithwaite. I wouldn't put too much attention to those rumors, but you never know. There were rumors about £60 million offer. Is that something we might go back to Everton? And the fact that Everton will be under pressure with regard to Premier League sustainability rules. I think you never know, a deal might go through there.
All of these incomings would in fact hinge on how good are we able to sell our players, our French players, correct?
I would guess so, because I think the likes of Maguire, Lindelof would be on decent wages. So if we were to make some room on the weekly salary budget there, I think that might open the doors for some of these signings to come through. What have you been hearing about the transfer outs?
McTominay remains the one who is the most forward deal. I feel 25 to 30 million. If United get that across the line, they'll be very happy to sell that. Again, from the PSR point of view, a homegrown academy player will show the most amount of profit. So McTominay as well as Lindelof, we are hearing good rumors again Saudi sides as well as Italian sides.
Yeah, so I think the apart from those two, and the other ones might be slightly lower deals, especially for Pelistri and Hannibal. We might not make a lot of money on those, but they are also being talked about as potential outgoings. Hannibal, I will be okay if he were to leave. I don't see him as somebody who has made that progression, who can settle into United's first team as the likes of Manu, Garnacho have. So I will be okay with Hannibal leaving, and even Pelistri for that matter. I mean, he has shown certain glimpses, especially for Uruguay, where he has played in under the Bielsa system, so to say, and he has had a decent relationship with Darwin Núñez. But in United, one could argue he hasn't got enough chances, but probably he has not done enough in training to deserve those chances. So he might be going out as well, which again is a fringe player. So I am okay with that.
We are heavily stacked on the wings. I don't believe even if he stays, he'll get a lot of chances on the wings. We have about 4 to 5 players for 2 positions, correct?
Yeah, one could argue that Antony is ahead of Pelistri in the pecking order for Tenor, which would mean that really less number of minutes for Pelistri.
Yeah, so that brings up to the number 6 position, the elusive midfielder we've been trying to sign for since the beginning of the transfer window. Ugarte was the one being talked about the most. PSG haven't budged on their price, and United are playing the waiting game. We have heard they're talking about alternatives. Fofana is there. Amrabat is going to be there. I don't think that is going anywhere. Sander Burge is someone who we are hearing very forward rumors about. He wasn't involved in the last game for Burnley. So yeah, Sander Burge is someone who will be available at a good 25-30 million price. I was reading a bit of comparison between Ugarte and Sander Burge. Turns out Ugarte is your no-nonsense, keep the ball position kind of midfielder, whereas Sander Burge is someone who does like to go forward, who does like to take some risk.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely need a number 6. We can't rely on Casemiro for the entire season. We need good competition for Casemiro, even if Casemiro were to step up. That will not happen with when there is no competition. So I have a hunch that this signing will happen, one player or another. So a number 6 will come in. My sense is that after all the drama, it will be Ugarte at the end of it. I think both PSG and United are playing that negotiation game where PSG is not giving up on valuation. United are standing by certain guardrails that they have set up, that we will not pay a certain amount for a certain type of player. So Ugarte, in all likelihood, is down the line something could happen. But if that doesn't happen, you are right. I think it's going to be Amrabat or Sander Burge who will come in. I am with Sander Burge, to be very honest, I don't recall seeing a lot of him, but he seems almost like a Weghorst for the CDM role to me. He might do some of the dirty work, etc., but he's not a flashy player. But probably dirty work is what you need at number 6. So might just fit the bill. He will be a squad player, in my opinion. if he were to make up, might play some Europa games, Carabao Cup games, etc.
Yeah, that's what we need alongside Casemiro right now. Someone to give him competition, someone who fits in well with Penu and the forward midfielder, whoever it is, Bruno / Mount.
Yeah, agree. I think one thing we must talk about is Bruno signing another deal.
Oh yeah, much deserved deal by Bruno. It makes him one of the highest earners at United, which he thoroughly deserves. Has been our best signing since the past decade, I feel.
I agree. From what I could hear and what I read about how this situation was being looked at by Ineos, they did not want to overpay in terms of weekly salary to any of the players, but they realized that Bruno brings a lot to the club, and the biggest point is he's not a disruptive figure. So that helps. So even if he is at higher salary wages, he's not going to throw tantrums. He is the captain of the team. He is going to ensure that the entire dressing room camaraderie is at its best. So all in all, very very happy with Bruno getting that deal.
Even the timing of the deal is so much Bruno, like so much captain, like he's getting this sorted before the season starts, just so as it's not a disruptive element when the season starts.
Absolutely. Great. I think that pretty much covers up all that we have to discuss in this part of the pod.
All right, folks, this is it from our pod this time. In the next part, we'll be talking about what are the expectations for Premier League, what are the expectations for the next season. We'll be talking about the build-up for the Fulham game, the first game for Premier League this season. Till then, do like, share and subscribe to our channel. Do give us feedback on all channels.
And yeah, as always, this is our perch. Let's knock him off. Until next time, stay united.